Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Good evening and welcome once again to Sista Talk. My name is Linda Talam. In today's episode, we are talking to women in business. We are going to get their perspectives on issues, especially the challenges, what they have experienced during the corona period. Are their businesses thriving or have they faced any closure? And in today's panel, we have women who've been in business for quite a while, and I'm sure we are going to glean so much experience from them. So we are going to start with Gaki Njeru. Gaki is a caterer and a hospitality consultant. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Linda.
How is your new year?
My year is going very well.
Right.
I would say I have a good start, and I thank God for that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Then we have Mary Waweru. Mary is a CEO at Next On Limited. Karibu to the show.
Thank you so much.
We are glad to have you.
All right.
And also next to me is Beatrice Kairu, who is a health economist and a businesswoman. Karibu.
Asante sana.
Yeah. So today we are going to find out what kind of businesses these ladies do, and I'm sure they are going to sort some of you who would like to start business or are feeling afraid, and I'm sure you're going to get encouraged in whatever situation you are in right now. So Gaki, please tell us a little bit about your business. What does it mean by caterer and hospitality consultant?
Okay. Thank you, Linda. So being a caterer basically is just being a caterer. I'm in the food industry. We offer our catering services, be it in restaurants, hotels, outside catering for events. And that's something I have done for many years, since it was also my line of training in college. Of course, here and there I've done a few more things, but my main line is in the catering business. And then by hospitality consultant, I offer training for probably restaurant setups or hotel setups. So we do training HR, setting up systems when one is beginning a business in the industry. That is what catering and hotel or hospitality consultant is all about.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, so ni kukula tuko.
Kukula, kushughulikia mambo ya chakula. Na sio kukula tu, eating right.
Eating right,
yes.
Good food. All right, Mary, what do you deal with at Next On Limited?
Next On Limited is a company that is basically dealing with environmental health, and also we are also involved in occupational safety and health, and also training. So we do environmental audits. We have a lab also that deals with the measurements of air. That's air quality monitoring, and also water testing and effluent. We also basically also do trainings that are accredited by occupational safety and health. So we do the training on fire, we do the training on first aid, we do the training on occupational safety and health. So basically Next On is an all-rounded company when it comes to compliance of factories and industries in the country. And to make sure that even when one wants to be ISO certified, you've got to make sure that you have run all the audits. The environmental audits are running, they are okay. The safety and health audits are okay. Risk assessments and trainings on industrial training, that is the first aid, the fire, and occupational safety and health.
So you somehow work alongside with NEMA?
NEMA is one of our accreditors. Actually, we cannot continue because like the lab is accredited by NEMA. Also the measurements of the standards are basically regulated by NEMA. And we work also with occupational safety and health. That's DOSH, the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health, falling under the Ministry of Labor. Okay. So we also get the accreditation from there, and IPRA. because we've got to do the energy audits accredited by IPRA.
All right. Beatrice, who is a health economist? What do you do?
Well, I would first of all say I'm a jack of many trades, but I don't want to be overconfident and say I'm a master of all. Entrepreneurship is a journey. Health economist, basically I'm a consultant in the healthcare industry. Right now, the issue of striking doctors, striking nurses, that's where the health economist comes in to assess a healthcare program or hospitals or institutions. Like for example, if Gaki decides to open a hospital, she will hire me in terms of consultancy to tell her, is that hospital viable in the area that she's going to set it up? Will it cater for diseases around that area? And how much money would she need basically to be able to do that setup? And will it be profitable in the long run for her, or even a church setup if they want to start a clinic? But apart from that is purely on consultancy. That's one business area I am in. Now in the other sectors, I think I followed the president. He said he has 4 big agendas. And his main agendas was manufacturing, and I think health was part of it, and also education. So I'm in like the director for Citadel company. We are a manufacturing company, and we do sanitation products, and also venturing into beauty products. I focus on alternative medicine because in this era of COVID, we need locally available materials to be able to be self-sustainable, because once there was lockdown and there were no flights, we saw various products going out of stock because we're so dependent on foreign companies. And then in the education sector, I'm also the director for homeschooling, especially in the church. As church people, we've realized when we take our kids to public system or even private system, there are various agendas being pushed to our kids, and for me I felt it's the high time someone took over and took advantage of it, so you can be able to have your kid at home and they can go to school without necessarily going under the system whereby, for example, if today the government said there will be no more praying in school and you want to raise your child in a godly manner. So with now our homeschooling, you're able to look after your kid, you're able to train your kid, you're able to be in close proximity with your kid. So that is, we move away from the culture where we dump kids for their teachers.
Right.
And then after that, 15 years later, you don't know who your kid is. Okay. So we're in homeschooling. It's an education, we are venturing into it. And we want to see how it goes. Yeah.
Okay, if you're joining us today, we are talking to women in business. And as you can hear, we have a caterer, we have an environmentalist consultant, and we have a health economist, a jack of all trades, literally. So Mary Gaki, is entrepreneurship a gift or it's a skill you have to develop over time?
I would say both, because you will find people who are very good with dealing with other people, because that's what entrepreneurship is all about, people's skills. And there are people who are really gifted with people's skills. But at the same time, you cannot just go into business blindly. You need the skills, you need the training, you need to work with somebody, probably look at someone who has done it before, read books, so that you can also equip yourself with the right skills to be able to get into business. Because once you get into business, that's when you'll realize it's not just about making money. You realize it's also about changing lives. And for you to keep repeat business, coming back, you know, having repeat business, you really have to know how to handle every client at a time. They are all very unique. You will never get 2 clients who are the same. So you really need the skill to handle business. The other reason why I would say you need the skill is also to manage your business. You're managing labor, that's your staff, you're managing money, you're managing stocks, you're managing so many things. You cannot just go into it blindly and say, oh, I am gifted, let me get in there. No, you need the skill.
So you need training. You need training.
You need training,
mentorship.
And training can come at different levels. You can go to school. There are very good schools that are training on entrepreneurship. You can work along somebody. You can shadow somebody who has done what you really want to do, acquire the skill, get to know the problems that the person is facing, the challenges of the business. It becomes easier because that person will become a stepping stone for you. So when you go there, you're well equipped to do the business.
Wow. If you are joining us and you'd like to do business, today you're going to get equipped. So share the link on your Facebook account, on your YouTube account. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, please also do the same thing. And let's get equipped together. So we've said you need both the gift and you need the skill. So Mary, when you wanted to start business, did you just wake up and go, or how did you get the capital? Because I'm sure many people, the problem really is usually the capital to start the business.
Number one, I would say that when you're starting a business, all you need is more than capital. Because you cannot wake up in the morning and say, now I'm going to put up a consultancy firm on environmental health and safety, because there are many things you need to consider apart from just the finances, in as much as they are also very important. So I would say that once you have purpose that this is what you want to do, look at several things. Do you have the workforce? Do you have the capital? Do you have the will? Do you have the know-how? Have you been registered? Do you have a running business that is fully equipped, that if today, like in tendering processes, you realize you asked for quite a number of documents, do you have them? If somebody asks you for a bank account today that is not reading personal details, the one that is reading your company details, do you have them? And that's why I'm saying that it's always important, especially for a woman, because now we're dealing with women. When you have decided that this is the way I want to go, you look beyond even your knowledge, and you look beyond where you have only been trained on. Because if you look at only the line of your study, then it will become a limitation, because you can actually start up a business. You're not fully equipped to do everything in all the areas that you want to cover. But there are many other ways you can jungle in between and still deliver, because there's also the experts who are also freelancers and are willing to come and join you up only when you have the business. So when you have that line of duty, that maybe that's the business you've got. Let's say like you have an audit and you have a fire and training. And maybe your line, like for me, my line is financial. I'm a financial auditor. But I needed to do a consultancy firm that is accommodating both the financial auditors and the environmentalists and the people who've been accredited to do safety and health. And safety and health is very broad, because we're looking at fire, we are looking at noise levels, we are looking at trainings, and all that are within. So what happens is that when you decide that this is the way to go, look beyond the capital. At that particular time, you may not have $1 million shillings that you think this is what you want, but you could have an idea that can still bring in the 1 million over time by utilizing the available resources, be it workforce, be it outsourcing. If you're not in a capacity, like if I get some work to do analysis of air, there are those ones that are called stack emissions. And I'm not in a position, because it's a very expensive exercise, I'm not in a position to deliver on that. I can outsource another company to come and do it on my behalf, but for the client, I will deliver it like I did. I'm the one who is invoicing. So you outsource. But capital, again, is also equally very important. You've got to look at what you need to accomplish and give yourself a time frame.
All right.
Yeah. So look beyond the capital, because I know that's where many people get stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Beatrice, is it, we are in a patriarchal society, and mostly men dominate the highest echelons of business in either way. Would you think it's, in your experience, has it been easy to get funding, or maybe you've gone for a loan in a bank to fund your business as a woman? How is it easy, or what experience have you had?
First, I want to demystify something. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. So there's a misconception where we force everybody to go into entrepreneurship. Just like leaders are born, entrepreneurship is leadership. So if you do not have the gift of leadership, trust you me, entrepreneurship is going to be a headache for you. You are better off being employed and be comfortable with it and go, because there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of pressure, and you have to be a lone worker. Now, the reason why business is so much associated with patriarchal is because most men, I would say, are born to be leaders. You know, like the scripture says, the men are the head of the homes. Yeah. So most of the time, it's a man's nature to lead. So you'll find men are a bit proactive when it comes to it. But now in the era we're in, where about the girl child is now being empowered, now you'll find most women with the gifting of leadership, because I know there are women born with a gift. There's a reason why I'm insisting on that, so that whoever is watching us, don't go quit your job because you've seen someone is driving a Ferrari on Facebook or Instagram, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to start my own business. No, business is, I don't want to say a chosen few, but business in itself, you have to have the gifting of leadership. If you don't have it, chances are you'll either give up on the way, or you'll end up being very frustrated because you're not cut to it. Be as it may, when it comes to financial institutions, just like my colleague here had said, when you're looking for that capital, many people initially, especially when you're starting out a new business, banks won't believe in you until you have piloted your idea and they have seen that the idea is actually working. So what usually happens, sometimes you might go to your parents, your friends who will believe in your shoddy idea, and they're willing to lose that money. Yeah? You know, sometimes you can have an idea and you're like, you need, like, let's say 300,000. So you need friends or colleagues or people who believe in your idea, and they decide, we are willing to risk this 300K, even if it kikunywa margin is sour, because when it's a new idea, nobody believes in it. So most of the time I tell individuals, chances are you may be forced to have worked for some time, you save a little bit, then you pilot your idea, or you look for investors, because sometimes bank won't. My own experience, if it's a new business, they won't. They tell you, let's see 6 months, and then you're able to offer you. So sometimes you may save up in a circle, like you're working or doing something else, then you save up a little bit, then you go to the circle and get a loan, because when you go to a circle, it's not, you may not explain necessarily what you're going to do with it. So it's from your savings, and then you're able to start it off. But the challenge as a woman I have experienced is that when you meet investors, and maybe most of the time the investors are like male colleagues, because sometimes women supporting your business may be difficult, because we know women, I am being honest. So sometimes if you like go to men and like, I have this idea, I need you to invest in it. If they're not godly men, there are repercussions with it. They may ask for sexual favors, and all that, and they tell you if you're going to invest with you. So it becomes a little bit challenging. Unlike male colleagues, when they meet maybe over nyama choma, and they talk as men, and they're like, Buddha, hiyo idea ni poa, wanachanga. But for women, it becomes a little bit difficult. Number two, maybe your idea is capital intensive. If it's capital intensive, very few women, especially in our African setting, you'll find they have that huge sum amount of money. So even if you go to your tuchama, they're like, your pesa unaitisha, inakuwa ngumu. So for women, it's still a challenge. And I would reach out to the government. Although right now the government has introduced the Women Fund, I think which Obama launched, I think around 2015 for women and youth groups. But the challenge with it is that you are forced to be in a women group, so that they give you money, and then there's accountability and that category banking. And being an entrepreneur, you are a leader. And you know, when you're a leader, sometimes group mentality don't work with you. You want to move fast. So when there's a group, it derails you. So the government, I think it needs to come up with a way of funding, even if it's a new idea, to pilot it to, it's called incubation, because I find it like in the US and in the Western world, there's what we call incubation of businesses. So now we have incubation of businesses for women and even the youth.
That's awesome. If you're tuning in, please share the feed with your friends and let's engage. So we've said women find it difficult to invest in another woman's business. Merigaki, why? Why?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Beatrice just threw someone under the bus. Well, you know, we are changing, I would say that. We are changing because like in my circle, or basically in my line of business, a lot of women are appreciating the fact that they need a lot of help in planning for their events. You know, being a homemaker and things like that, you realize you need a lot of help with planning for an event, be it a wedding, be it catering, or, you know, all those kind of things. So women have actually started appreciating help. I think the reason maybe we really don't support other businesses is because there's a way we believe in ourselves, and we think if she can do it, I think I can do it even cheaper for myself. And women are also very resourceful, so they will always have an idea of whatever business she's presenting to me. There must be either another way, or I know somebody else who can do it, or I can try. I will try and just get another way, you know. So I think that probably that could be one of the reasons. But I would say women have really come a long way.
They're evolving.
Yes. Women have come a long way with supporting their own. I think even, you know, the way political leaders now have started coming up, and there's more spaces opening up for women and things like that. I think those are some things that are helping women to get out of that box of women don't support their own, women are their worst enemies. All those dimensions are changing.
So jealousy is decreasing.
Even adding to that, on what she has said, I agree. Women actually are changing, and I realized, I think basically women are more competitive in nature. But if we have to change now this and continue changing, I think we've got to begin looking at business and in women and entrepreneurship as better way when we collaborate instead of compete. Like I can call you, you do the training for my staff, and you're a woman, and I'm a woman, and I've realized I have seen a lot of changes. We are slowly taking ground. We must agree on that. Slowly, it may be slowly, but we are taking ground as women because we are beginning to be more accepted. Like in the line I am, it's more men-oriented, sincerely. I have seen so many men in this field and very few women. And I was like, why don't we, even there's a group we have started on Telegram, and it's bringing up all women in Africa. It's an initiative where we come together as the people who are in occupational safety and health to help each other with ideas. And I realized that is where the strength is. While we are thinking, and many other women are thinking that this is the competition way, then others are thinking this is the collaboration way. And the one that is on the winning team is the one that is collaboration.
So I'm just wondering, you are in a male-dominated field. Do they take you seriously?
That's a question for another day. There are those ones who are depending on many factors. Some of them are coming from cultural beliefs, who believes women sincerely should not even be seen in the leadership forums. And there are those ones who are again now coming up, the ones who believe that there's power in women. And you get, it's like the way we say that you can get equal shares of enemies and equal share of friends. Okay. There are those men and those people and the companies that will literally believe that because she's a woman, she will deliver better than a man. Yeah. And those are the people that now you need to make sure when they give you work, you give them quality work. You make sure that you mobilize all the resources to make sure that you deliver on point, because those are the people that believes in you. And those that believes in you are the ones that you keep and keeps the business running. All right? All right. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what we are saying is that women are evolving.
Yes, totally.
We are somehow realizing that it's good to collaborate rather than compete.
Very true.
Beatrice seems not to be agreeing with this idea.
You know, King Solomon wrote and said, "There's nothing new under the sun." So women will still compete. So when you see your fellow woman has a red dress, most likely you'll go buy a red dress because you saw she looked good. So eradicating that will be very difficult. But what I would like people to be enlightened is that business is all about collaboration of both sexes. That's when it progresses the best. So it's high time our men realize that women have the gift of the multiplication factor. So even in scripture, when you look at someone like Deborah, when you read scripture, it's not because there was no men existing in that time, but when God looked and he realized no man is rising to the occasion, he had no choice but not to use a woman. But if men understood the fact that when they come up with an idea and they involve a woman into it, it multiplies quick, and it's able to advance very fast. But the moment when it's only male dominated, you'll end up having what we call blind spots. I realized even in the manufacturing industry, for example, washing machines, dishwasher, as much as it's male engineers who came up with those machines, most likely it's their wives who influenced them. They're like, hey, my wife spent so much time washing clothes, let me come up with an invention of this. So we realize the way God created the universe, there is no way you can eradicate one sex and the other one is not existing. So as much as we are encouraging women-only groups, women-only companies, for me, I find it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous trajectory we are going towards. But I'm looking whereby women and men coexist. For me, even in my own companies, I try to do that blending. I ensure it's not like if it's a board, for example, a board of directors, you don't have 80% men and then 20%. You try as much as I have a mixture, because with the mixture, what you find, what one sex cannot comprehend, the other sex is able to comprehend, and when both align. For example, if it's Gaki, catering, it's assumed, because it's catering, it's supposed to be women. Then you're shocked. There are men who, men come up with very good recipes, because in psychology, say as much as women think with both sides of the brain and men focus on one side of the brain, there is a reason why. They're able to see to the detail, to the letter, whereby they were able, whereby the woman, because of using both sides of the brain, they were able to miss. So if we do collaborative, for me, my approach in business is usually collaborative. I ensure it's not women power, because I'm not pro feminism. I am pro coexisting.
So I was actually coming to that feminism thing, because the feminist movement is saying women need to take over. Yes. And it's bringing out the issue that we are equal.
We are gifted differently, and we need to coexist. And I think that was the basis of the whole situation. And even in our thinking, the way a man thinks, it's different from how a woman thinks. So those fine details, the woman straightens, the man maybe thinks in black and white. So the woman now is able to fine-tune it in between.
Wow. So Beatrice has taken us from women just collaborating between themselves to collaborate with both genders, so that there is a rich kind of multiplication. We are going to go on a short break, but when we come back, we are going to pick up the conversation from where we've left.
Gospel Light College, we offer a bachelor's degree in biblical studies and community development. We also offer certificate and diploma courses. January 2021 intake is ongoing. Book your slot today by calling 0713 66 3117, 0713 66 3117. Gospel Light College, equipping you intellectually, socially, and spiritually.
How can a pastor deal with offense?
Know that we minister from a place of relationship. We have a relationship with God.
Marriage is a beautiful institution.
Companionship is a place of friendship.
According to God's purpose.
What is a career path?
That's a journey that you take in discovering yourself as you rise at the different levels.
Melody nimekupima, this is your blood type and this is your hivyo, but akasema lakini your Melody you are HIV positive.
What exactly does it mean? Politics is dirty.
Is a symbolism of the rebel, of the theocratic rule
of God.
Of God.
The life of a believer will always have a distinction.
Jesus has mandated you to be called the salt of the earth.
Sista Talk, and today we are talking to women in business, and we are getting their perspectives on some of the issues. When we went on a break, we were talking about women supporting each other. Then we also mentioned that it's better if we not only collaborate among the women, but also have the men collaborate with one another. Mary, coming from that point of an environment that is dominated by men, does a woman have to assume a certain personality in order to break through?
Yeah.
Do you have to be more aggressive?
If there's something you need to do when you're now coming in as a woman in a male-oriented, dominated career or line, you just need to be real. Be as real as possible. Don't look for pity.
Don't start crying.
If you're going in, go in not thinking that now I'm just going as a woman. That is where the limitation begins. Go in as an equal competitor, as a worthy competitor, as somebody who is here to win too. Make sure, and that's why I mentioned earlier, that make sure that now, that is where now you come in now. When you're coming in, make sure that you have really armed yourself with all the necessary documentation. Make sure you're not going to seek sympathy. Oh, please now give me this job because you guys, you know me, I'm just a woman. No.
You use the two-third gender rule.
No. In as much as there are other advantages that may work for you, like that certificate you mentioned for the, it's called access to government procurement opportunities given to youth and women and people living with disabilities. Those are the advantages you may go in, but don't go with it like you're looking for pity and sympathy. Don't, because that becomes your point of limitation. Just go in knowing that I am a woman, yes, but I'm not going in as a weaker vessel here. I'm going in as a worthy competitor, and I'm ready for this. And that is where the strength begins.
So you don't have to start looking very aggressive, extremely assertive.
No. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
And keep the focus on, make sure that you keep knowing and searching and researching more on what you need to do and where you want to get and how to get there.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Let's look at clients, because we get different types of clients. But first, let me ask Mary, Gaki, have you ever been conned?
I'm trying to, well, consider if there's a recent incidence of a con. Well, I think, I don't know whether I would really call it a con, but I almost got conned, and it was a social media incident where, you know, you advertise your work on Facebook and somebody sees your work, they like it, then they come to your inbox and you start chatting and chatting and chatting, and they look all genuine and everything. You even get to, like, you know, in the process of introducing each other, you actually realize, oh, they were recommended by somebody who you know and somebody you've done business for. And okay, well, thank God, this time I was not dealing with the catering, because it was during the corona time. I was dealing with something different. And at the point at which you're just about to deliver items, you actually realize the address you're given looks fishy, the account you're being told you're going to receive money from is looking weird, and then we women, thank God now, this is where our advantages come in. You know, our sixth sense, they kick in and you're like, no, there's something fishy here. So I almost, and like I said, it was on social media. So I think we really need to do our due diligence because cons are out there and they don't care who you are. And let me tell you, the people who con you are not people who you think are not smart, and you'll be surprised the person conning you is a person who wears a suit Monday to Friday. They are very clean, probably even driving a very good vehicle. They have made a living out of conning people. So do your due diligence. Maybe I'm going ahead of myself, but I think it's important when you're in business, especially being a woman with everybody wanting to take advantage because you're a woman. Yeah. It's important to do your due diligence.
Okay. So you learn that you need to do your due diligence.
Exactly. And for every social media job that I get, like say it came from an Instagram post or somebody has followed me up or something like that, there has to be due diligence. If I can follow them up, I will do that. If I can do site visits, I will do that. Anything I can do before I put my finger or my signature on any document, I have to do that.
So don't just trust on face value.
No, you
Beatrice,
cannot.
have you had any
incidents?
Yeah, incident of conning.
Yeah, I have. But what I should say, in every business, always anticipate loss. Don't go thinking it will be smooth. So the reason why you experience such incidents is so that you become wiser. There's a reason why CCTV were created, because someone somewhere got conned or an incident of loss of items or stealing occurred. So, but what I've learned along the way is that when you're budgeting or planning your business, always give room. Because sometimes you can supply, like I remember there's a time I supplied someone items, and the person for sure they would have paid, but calamity strike. What do? Will you hang them by with a knife and tell them you have to pay me, pay me? Sometimes you ask yourself, have you given your business an allowance for bad debt? Because it's not every time that you'll make a sale and it goes through. So when people are planning for their business, this is where business planning and strategy is there. So for example, if it's a hospital, and you've brought in a patient and the person has paid a deposit, then they have stayed in your hospital for over like 3 months. Then all of a sudden, the people who are to pay the hospital bill maybe die, or a calamity strikes. The bill is 2.5 million. This person does not have insurance. Do you close down your hospital? So you realize if you had not planned on how to deal with bad debt, what do you do with it? So conning is also part of bad debt. Yeah, it's usually you give a room for allowance. Otherwise, you'll get heartbroken, heart attacks, because I'm saying that out of experience, because there's an instance we did supplies to a member of parliament for hospital supplies. They were almost going for 3 million, and the person decided not to pay, and they give you threats. And they tell you, we won't pay you, you know, mimi ni mkubwa, mimi ni mheshimiwa. Now you realize now your life is more at risk because you are running you are running after 3 million. But you see, it's a loss. That's conmanship, because you trusted, like the issue is saying, actually the people who con you are not strangers. They're actually people who know you very well, they convince you so much and you believe in them. So sometimes when the deal is too good, I usually say think twice. Actually, what I call delay tactic. If they're really, really genuine, then they'll be ready to wait. Otherwise, when somebody is harakisha you mean mheshimiwa, mimi mkubwa, you know, these things with kudanganya, you know, and you know, those instances.
They use sweet words.
Exactly. But if you're going to venture into business as a woman or even as a man, because I know we'll have men viewership, always when you're budgeting, always give that allowance. In case of a bad debt, what happens? Actually, nowadays there's insurance. You can insure your business. So in such a case scenario, when the deal has gone sour, you can always go to the insurance company and they're able to reimburse so that your business does not collapse. Because many businesses have also collapsed because of conman. Maybe someone has taken all your goods, your capital, your imeenda, and you're like, do I start from the beginning or what happens? So be enlightened. There's what we call insurance to insure on bad debts. And I think especially depending on how capital intensive your business is. Yeah.
So if you're tuning in, we are talking to women in business. Please share the feed with your friends. Contact us on the lines that are running below your screens so that we can get your perspective and also your thoughts on this show. So we've talked about bad debts, conmanship. Have you learned something about dealing with clients, Mary, over time? Because we said we have different kind of clients who come your way. What is that one bottom line, or maybe several, that it's like a mode of engagement between you and your clients?
Oh, definitely, yes. When we are dealing with clients, especially for us, we've got to go to the ground first, right? Because most of the things that we are doing, we've got to be on the ground. So for us, possibly maybe that where you supply, we do not have anything we are supplying. When you're going for the actual job, you've got to first do the site survey, and then from there you engage. But before you do any concrete work, the ground rule for us as Next Stone is that the client must commit themselves in terms of you've got to receive, after they have, now we've sent them our proper documentations to show that we are registered and we are accredited by the relevant bodies. They've got also to show us that they are committed to this job by giving us something that we can hold on to in case they've not paid. We can go to court. If you have, like, let's say, a system where you receive a local purchase order before you engage on any work, and that's what we do. For any client that we would now carry our machinery, possibly go and measure their air and water, and also any audit. Before we even move workforce from the office to the place, we've got to first receive the local purchase order. We may not necessarily receive what we say, like, let's say, have the payment, because at times it may not be possible. Maybe also the client, depending on the client, may not be able to pay beforehand. But once you receive a local purchase order, it makes it easier for you, because in case that client doesn't pay, that's something that you will hold on and it is acceptable by the law. You will be able to sue the client and say that, honestly, we engaged, they committed themselves by giving us this LPO, and now we've done the work, and you can be able to show that even you did the invoice and everything, but they did not pay. Right. So for us, before we engage on any other client, we must first receive their local purchase order.
So that's like a ground rule.
Yes.
Then there are those who you have to give a certain percentage of down payment.
Very true.
Okay.
Very true.
That's awesome. Last year we went into a pandemic as a nation, Gaki, and we were here, we've been hearing on news, businesses are not doing well, businesses collapsed, they closed down. How has been your experience through that pandemic? As a caterer. Yeah.
You know, necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yeah.
And so COVID comes and you realize what you've been doing, you can no longer do it. For us in the events industry, no events, no groups, no meetings, no restaurants operations, as in nothing. So definitely you have to now start thinking, will we stay in the house? What's going to happen? Even if, say, you're a landlord, you will still find tenants are not paying because they don't even have the money to pay. So nobody was covered, really. But I thank God, because at that point, what happened is, you know, I'm just in the house one day and I see one of my sisters-in-law selling masks. And I call her and I'm like, you're selling masks? Yes, I'm also selling. No, that's it. And that is just how I got into a totally different business, because it's COVID. It's not something I would want to do, really, totally. I also started a shop in town, you know, selling ladies' stuff, you know, innerwears and lingeries and all that. Something I would never have envisioned myself doing. All COVID manenos.
So you had to reinvent yourself.
So I had to reinvent. I had to think on my feet. My husband, on the other hand, started doing also, you know, farming and things like that. And if you remember, a lot of people actually who went into farming around that time fed the nation, you know, so to say. So when things like that happen, because we're entrepreneurs, and like Beatrice had said earlier, you're a leader. You have to think on your feet. You cannot sit down and say, oh, my tools of trade are all taken. No. We have to keep thinking. We have to keep creating opportunities. Remember, there are people depending on you. I have staff who were depending on me because now when I'm out of business, they are also out of work. So we had to think. So that's how I started doing something totally different. And there I am now online. And you know, you cannot be ashamed. Yeah. You cannot be ashamed as a woman and begin to think, oh my God, I'm doing so many things. What will people think? What will people say? Because those are some of the challenges we as ladies go through. A man may not get all that, but a woman, if you make so much noise, you know, in business and things like those are some of the stereotypes you will get. So I had to think, I had to reinvent, I had to be innovative, I had to meet a need. And I would say God has been very gracious. There were difficult times, of course, but it also helped me to think out of the box. I extended my wings, you know, I got new wings. If I had others, others grew. Yeah. And I went to hospitals, you know, trying to sell masks. Please, probably, you know, her line. Yeah. And something had to be done. And so we started doing. Okay. And it was a learning. It was a learning season. Then you can also not rely on one income stream. I think Kenyans, we are very blessed. Ladies especially, we know how to multitask. I think at that point is when you bring all that your multitasking experience as a woman, you bring it to the table and see what works for
pandemic you. Or no pandemic.
Yes.
Beatrice, did you experience any challenges during the COVID-19 period? I know we are still in it, but well, last year.
First and foremost, we have to understand that business is uncertain. Anytime you ever venture into business, always at the back of your mind, remember there's always uncertainty. Now, the problem with COVID-19, it hit everybody unawares. Nobody would have thought. We're all saying, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. We're all, you know, excited. It's my year. You know, your pastor told you, today is your year. This is my year. And the next thing, COVID hits, and then you go back and asking your pastor, was it really our year? Anyway, so business is uncertain. And something else people need to understand is that any great businessman, they have experienced failures, even up to 7 times or even 100 times before now you say, aha, this business has succeeded. So people should not go with that mentality. You know, like in school, you are told utafika form 4, you do KCSE. You know, there's a nice line. In business, it's not a straight line. So today you may be picking kumbe, it's because tomorrow you'll be sinking deep down. Actually, even some to a point of even bankruptcy. Like, let me put it that way. You become bankrupt. Like when people ask even for 10 shillings and you tell them you don't have, they look at it and like, but we had your business was doing very well, because it happens in business. So anybody venturing into business, there's a lot of certainty. Personally, when COVID struck, for me, it birthed actually the businesses I am in. My consultancy, I would say, went down because companies were now downsizing, hospitals were not operating because they closed down. Because now everybody was focusing on this COVID. People are now waiting for a drive-in. So there was even laying off of healthcare workers because now you cut down. But in terms of sanitation products, they shot, you see. In terms of, it really went, they shot because now everybody realized, oh, we need to wash our hands, yeah. But when it comes to things like beauty products, they went down because now people are indoors, they no longer, you know, everybody went into a I don't saving mode. Everybody was like, we don't know how long this COVID goes. So people are not so much spending on themselves. They were just spending on necessities. But things like schooling, remember now kids were at home for almost a whole year, I would put it that way. And the fear of most parents was like, if my kid goes in January, will they even remember how to write their names?
So that's where you
we started, so we started about virtual classes, like because our kids had mobile phones. So if your kid is with the mobile phone, instead of venturing into weird sites and weird series, they were able to engage with teachers. Because remember also teachers now, schools closed, private schools closed, and there was no physical interaction with students. So these are teachers who need to feed themselves, they need to eat, they need to do that, and that's their only tool of trade. So we introduced Google Virtual. We just used whatever was available. So you ask a teacher, you're good in maths, so we'll give you 40 students, are you able to interact with them, give them assignment. It kept the students a little bit engaged. So for me, it birthed in terms of those needs, because I say business people are solution makers. You don't go with creating more problems. No, that's where a leader comes in. That's why I insist entrepreneurship, you must be a leader. If you're not a leader, please stick in your employment, be a follower, and be grateful for that, because you have to, like she said, you have to be on the go. You have to think, there's a problem, how can I solve it? You have to think of solution making. So for me, that's when solution making came in. I'm like, kids are at home, parents are even now worried, fridge in Aisha food, because everything, the child is always thinking about it. But once you engage the child, they're able to recover on that. Then manufacturing of the sanitation products is because we had so much dependent on importing. Now crisis hits, mnenda kwa shelves unasikia kibuya sabuni is almost 3,000. When did soap go all the way? So we started thinking about ourselves, like, what if we did our own local manufacturing? Because we don't know, because I know scripture says in the last days pestilence and diseases shall be the norm. So what if there is another lockdown for a whole year or 2 years? Does it mean we won't wash and we won't shower, we won't, you know? So we had to think about it, and I think, but one thing I tell people is this, and I wanted to support my friend here. When you venture into business, always work hand in hand with a legal person. They're able to work with you, even those litigations, the client, because business is prone to losses. Trust you me. That's why it says risk. And the higher the risk, we say in economics, the higher the returns. But as much as it's a higher risk, you can also crash and dig deep. So one business advice or a business tip I would encourage our viewers, work hand in hand with a legal person. They're able to cushion you. They're able to tell you, like this, you say litigations or issues of conmanship, how to insure yourself. It saves you a lot of agony instead of the try and error. Sometimes people may want to cut shortcuts, but those shortcuts, you end up paying more at the end of the day. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So if you are tuning in, have you been conned in Corona period? How did you reinvent yourself when you just closed your business and went to Shago? So you've heard you need to reinvent yourself. You need to provide solutions, because the COVID-19 period brought in a lot of problems, and we saw a lot of gaps in
opportunities as
and
well.
opportunities also. So that's where a woman in business would have to think, hey, there's a problem here. Homeschooling, people are finishing food in the fridge. How can we engage them? That's interesting. So if you're watching us, we are talking to women in business, and these women are loaded. I hope you are getting something. Engage with us on the contacts running below your screen. Share the feed. Send us a text on as the feed is going on, so that we can interact with you further. Gaki, usually a woman has so many responsibilities. You're not just in business.
Yeah.
If you're married, you have a husband, you have children, you have your in-laws, you know.
You have society, you have church.
You have church, you have so much.
And cats and dogs.
And cats. So how do you balance all those responsibilities?
For you to be able to balance responsibilities, you yourself as a woman has to be balanced. And you have to be well and whole. So my approach always, and what I also tell people, is look at yourself first. Make sure you're whole. Make sure you're well, you're of a sound mind. If prayer works for you, pray. If it's reading the Bible that brings you at a balance, read the Bible. If it is talking to somebody that brings you to balance, do that. Whatever works for you, do it. Before you can go out there and start handling husband, babies, world, business, everything, before you start handling everybody else, make sure you yourself are at a good place and you're balanced from within. Bible says that out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks. And I will say out of the abundance of your heart, we see your actions, because your speaking is an action. So we will see your actions and how you do things. So it all has to come from within you. What balances you? What do you believe in? How do you handle, anger? How do you handle offense? How do you handle tiredness? For example, even stress. I'm tired. How do I handle it? Do I go talking and singing songs, to offend everyone else in the house? How do I handle myself at that point, at my breaking point? At my breaking point, what am I doing to just make sure, first of all, I am whole, I am well, I am healthy? Then that way I can be able to handle everything else that I have to do. Women are helpers. We were created to help. And it's very evident, of course, from the book of Genesis. We have seen women who multitask, who bring in help. A woman comes in. We have men full of wisdom, but a woman also comes in and brings her dimension of wisdom. So I think God created us with such a huge capacity. We should never underestimate the power that a woman carries to even handle all those things. So my advice is, be well first. And if there's a woman out there doing business or basically going around the issues of life and the circumstances that life is throwing at you, take a break, go sit, think about your life, pray if you have to pray, talk to somebody if you have to talk to somebody. Be well first, you as a person. Take time. Nobody will, in fact, nobody will crucify you or judge you that you took a break, to seek for help. Nobody will judge you for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need to be whole as a woman.
You need to be whole.
We have to come to the end of this show. We'll need to do a season 2. But on that note, let's, Mary, just look at that camera and in 30 seconds, just talk to a woman in business, and just encourage them, your parting shot.
If there's any woman out there who is feeling stuck and is feeling like what you studied is not working for you, don't die there. There's strength in agility, there's strength in flexibility, and the willingness to change a career at whatever age. So don't die in there. You can always take a U-turn. I took a U-turn from, I'm still working on it, from financial, now I'm in environment and occupational safety and health, and I'm doing it. Don't die there.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's awesome. 30 seconds, Beatrice. Look at that camera and talk to someone.
What I would like to challenge women out there is that the world is full of many problems and it's dying to find solution makers. So don't be part of the problem, be a solution maker.
Wow. Be a solution maker, reinvent yourself. Look at be whole before you venture into business. We have to come to the end of the show, but I believe you have learned something. I'll have to call these ladies for another show because we've just scratched the surface. Thank you for watching and staying tuned. I'll see you again next week on Thursday, same time, same place. Good night.